everyone. Welcome back to the Ministry Leaders Podcast. This is week 2. Last week we talked about stepping up as leaders in God's kingdom and 3 simple ways to begin stepping up, which we talked about were to listen, to learn, and to pray. And I thought we'd dig deeper into the skill of listening today because I think listening is a very overlooked and underappreciated aspect and discipline of leadership. In the book of James, the Epistle of James, you might be familiar with the popular verse in chapter 119. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak. And James goes on to warn about the dangers of the tongue, right? It's a pretty famous passage about when we rush ahead talking before we really listen. And James says, don't do it. It's dangerous. Last week I mentioned that listening involves both listening to God and listening to other people, and especially to those that we're called to lead. Let's focus today on listening to other people. How do we become better listeners? How do we grow our ears and our hearts as well as just our tongues? Well, first let me mention 3 blockages, 3 bad habits which stand in the way of listening. And then I'll mention 3 skills that we can cultivate which will make us better listeners. So first blockage is talking. Simple, right? We don't listen well when we talk too much. You've probably met that person that's always talking, right? You can't get a word in edgewise. You finish a conversation with them and you've learned all about their week and they haven't even asked you how you are. And that might be an extreme example, but as leaders, we can feel pressure to talk. After all, we're leaders. We're supposed to direct people, to guide people, to teach people, to persuade people. But what we really need to do first is to listen well. And then we might do a better job saying something that's helpful to them. So slow to speak, quick to listen. The first blockage is talking too much. The second blockage is discounting. And this is when before the other person's half done talking, we've already formed an opinion. We figured out why we disagree, and so we've invalidated what they say. Oh, they only think that because, or they're always saying that, or they're wrong, and this is why. We stop listening because we've already discounted their point of view. The third blockage is assuming. We assume we know what they're going to say before they get done saying it. In fact, we might finish their sentence for them, either out loud or at least in our head. Oh, they mean this. Oh, they're saying that. Often when we assume, we hear what we think they mean rather than what they actually are saying. So 3 blockages: talking, discounting, assuming. All of this applies to leading, but it also applies to life, right? To work, to parenting, to romantic relationships. So how can we listen better in our relationships? Again, let me give you 3 ways. First is simple. Be quiet. Instead of talking, listen. For some of us it's hard, I know, but make a point to talk less and to listen more. So that one's simple. Second, ask good questions. Often before I get together with someone, I'll think about a handful of questions that I can ask them to draw them out and to figure out, to draw out in conversation what I want to know about them. So it might be, how's your week? How did X go? Fill in the blank. The thing that you told me about last week, how did it go? Or what's your opinion about this or that? Or if it's someone new I haven't met before, maybe they show up at church for the first time. Hey, what's your name? Where are you from? How long have you lived there? What are you, or where are you from originally? How did you hear about our church? Questions like that. Or if I know someone a bit better, I might ask, what do you think about that point that was made in the sermon? Or what have you been learning about God lately? Have you been learning anything new? Or, as a church, we're always trying to grow and follow God's leading. Is there anything you see that we should be working on or paying attention to? Asking questions draws people out and it helps us to listen. Then the third way to listen better is reflecting back what we think we heard. This is especially valuable when someone is sharing more than pleasantries or facts, but there's emotion involved, or they're trying to communicate something that's important to them. So I might say, after they've shared, I might say, so what I hear you saying is, and then I'll summarize what I've heard, and then I'll say, have I got that right? Is that what you're trying to say? Or I might say, so let me see if I'm following you. What you're saying is, and then again, I'll summarize what I think I've heard. Often I found that I haven't heard the person quite right the first time, or maybe I did, but maybe I heard them, but they didn't actually say what they meant to say. And so then they can say, no, that's not quite right, and then they can try to express it another way. So being quiet, asking good questions, and reflecting back what we think we hear, those are 3 skills that can help us listen better and therefore lead better. And each of these is a habit that takes time and practice to grow and to develop. So I encourage you to get started. What's one of these practices that you can start practicing today? Let's get better at the skill and the discipline of listening. And I'll talk to you again next week.